We start with Indy 11 and the lineup that's been assembled. Mark Lowry leads their first team. Berglund in goal. Call it a 4-4-1-1. It's not quite what they submitted, but it's what we believe.
No, the players will rotate here a little bit. Most importantly, Diego Sanchez will actually be on the inside. That's an academy contract player who regularly showcases himself with the first team. He'll be paired next to Drew Thompson. Keep an eye on Drew Thompson. When they start to move together, they are absolutely brilliant. It's an Indiana commit. Everything right now is going to come down to the 16-year-old. You heard that right. Austin Loudon up top playing for the U19s. He is not their normal number 9, but this is one of the teams that wants to employ a false start, bringing some of their starters off the bench 20, 30 minutes into this game.
Meanwhile, for Tampa Bay United, Falcon starts in goal, and from the back, this is a group that has struggled to defend. They've allowed 4 goals, which is the most of any team in the U19 Elite Division that got out of group play. Mentioned Lugo in wide areas. Skubis runs their midfield. Colvin and Mahalik anchor the back line. We have Munson on the left and Bravo on the right in that back. Oliver Blake starts up front, the commit to Dartmouth. Here we go, underway, USL Academy Cup final. The under-19 Elite Division, Indy 11, Tampa Bay United. Deep down, you kind of want to call them the Rowdies, don't you? Of course, they've got the relationship with that club, but a good Indy-Tampa Bay rivalry is never a bad one to see in the USL world.
There's certainly plenty of talent for the Tampa Bay Rowdies organization that has made its way out of the area onto their roster. Most recently, Nate Johnson, one of the players who was a part of that national championship winning team last fall, outside right back for Tampa Bay United, now employing his efforts at the next level professionally for Neil Collins and Co. in the USL Championship. One of the great things about these two teams is, I joked with the managers, that they deserve a raise because it's the same conversation over and over again. It's the ability to promote players into the professional ranks, whether it be the Tampa Bay Rowdies or Indy 11, both teams obviously in the USL Championship. That is the organizations that they're affiliated with. To the collegiate ranks, guys going to Indiana, Wake Forest. I mean, you're talking about national powerhouses when it comes to the best of the best in college soccer on the men's side of things. And then the academy players. Truly remarkable, the level of success that both of these organizations have been able to achieve over the past couple of seasons.
Oliver Trenton Blake knocked down, goes by Trenton. Skubis or Jones will put this in play. It's Jones, hung in the air and handled by Gray Berglund. Well, Dev, I think back as the North Carolina Courage knock off NC Fusion to win the girls' final of the Under-19 Elite Division. Saw them conclude their match less than an hour ago now. There's talk about how even if you've got different players featuring that haven't featured together, the organizational philosophy is such that the Under-16 should know exactly how the Under-19s go about their business, because on its face, the curriculum should be very similar.
Yeah, it's the plug and play idea behind it, right? That the philosophies that we're preaching to the highest order are gonna be replicated in theory to the younger players. Now, whether or not you can step up and slide yourself into one of those spots is a different story, but as we mentioned, guys like Diego Sanchez who are on the field for Indy 11 within the midfield, that's a player who is on a academy contract. He regularly trains with them. Tate Johnson, as we mentioned before, they're perfect examples that regardless of what age group you're with, professional, U15, U19, you name it, you go out perform, the ideology behind all of it stays the same.
This is going to skip through, and the chase from Jones comes up short. And a goal kick to come despite the shout for a corner.
Get organized early.
Well, now they've changed that direction of the AR's flag.
How's the wind, by the way? A little different than what we saw in the U19 women's final.
Touch on that in a moment. Ball whipped across, hung in the air, skimmed over everybody. Dev, you mentioned it during the first game. Okay, it's 90 degrees, but certain areas of Florida, that can be overbearing, and in certain areas of Florida, you get a nice breeze that helps with the temperature. It doesn't help with the flight of the ball.
No, but Kiki Wallace, he directly addressed this, the manager for Indy 11, and he said that wind, it's going to be a factor. Can we harness it? That's what he wants to know.
Another header in front. That is grabbed by Berglund. That's a little three-piece tic-tac-toe set.
There's a slight breeze always out there from one end to the other, and it wasn't a big factor necessarily in the run of play, but they do want the wind at their back to attack first. He wants to try and take advantage of it if possible. It feels like the way that they press, it helps them. It creates less of pressure in the second half on their back line. You can make the adjustments to be more athletic in those situations, but the wind's quite fickle right now. It's kind of bouncing side to side as opposed to blowing one end to another.
Makes you a little more aerodynamically inclined. Pascas pushes ahead. Paz rolls this all the way through, and Tampa Bay finally wise to it. And the run out for Tampa Bay United is very much on. Leading Trenton Blake. Had White running in. Ball stuck to him. And he's won, remarkably, a free kick.
This is what you get out of Trenton Blake up top, though, the Dartmouth commit. He's another one who trains with the Rowdies every day. He's tireless. The runs off the ball, so dynamic. Really good movements from him. If you watch, he'll check in, he'll ask for the ball at his feet. He'll peel off just to create space because his IQ is that high tactically. He knows that he doesn't always have to have the ball at his feet, that he can do the work off the ball to help create opportunities for others around him.
We've already gone longer in this final without a goal than we did in our opener. The 6th minute of play that NC Fusion jumped on the board, only to see that dissipate less than 10 minutes later. See the courage come from behind to win. Nothing decisive, but maybe there's something here for Tampa Bay United off the post. Still on here for Tampa Bay. That's going to run out.
It's not far off, is it? It's a heck of an angle. And just look at the amount of momentum he gets coming back across. Nicholas Skubas is the 2022 tournament MVP. Normally the main distributor for this squad. Almost knocks one down from about 20 yards out.
All over the top again, sliding effort, header back by Jones. And Tampa Bay United, couple chances in and around set pieces. Jones committed to USF moving forward, the winger. Skubas goes pouring forward. Ball for Jones. Cut out by Bailey in the nick of time. Keeper's out. And racing back, Berglund. Toward Skubas, brought down toward White. And Indy 11 clear their lines. You see Colvin knock it down.
That space right there, the relationship for Dennis Paz and Austin Loudon. Remember, Austin Loudon getting his, not just first start, but first appearance within the tournament, Mike. Now, we'll talk about some of the exploitation on the attacking line that will come, I promise you, from Indy 11 as they bring substitutes in. But what does it look like between those two? Paz pinching off the shoulder right now. You got to make sure you're putting pressure on Calvin and Mihalik on the back line. Both of those guys, especially Mihalik, reads the game really well. Got to put pressure on the two center backs. Make sure that you give your midfield the opportunity to operate down underneath.
USM Paz on the run. Alexi Mahalik carries that out. You'd have to think Maryland is finally feeling like they're getting paid back for Blake Wagner turning them down to sign his GA deal back in the day. Future Terp. Blake Wagner leading this Tampa Bay United team.
I'm sure somewhere their head coach, Sasha Surovsky, quite grateful for Alexi Mahalik over the past couple of seasons. They've really produced some impressive talent at the center back spot.
And they've handled the change from high school to academy recruiting really well. DC United has been super fertile for them. That whole mid-Atlantic region is teeming. Donovan Pines, right, is a Maryland guy.
He started last night for DC United Central Defense. Senior men's national team player, started at the 2021 Gold Cup.
Sure.
That's right around the corner. You wonder where your careers can go. Just a few short years away from ending up in the same spot as that young man.
That's a dangerous ball. All Indy can do is force it over the line.
Let's see how deep they sit here. Indy 11 and Kiki Wallace. Tactically, some things have changed over the years. What hasn't is the work ethic on the defensive side of the ball. You just wonder how high of a line, as you see, they're willing to play, how much press they're going to give Tampa Bay United, or they're going to be willing to sit back and counter. Previous years, we've seen them where they had to rely on the defensive escapades. That's not the case anymore. Grayson Elmquist is one of the names that you're going to hear later on within the match. The idea, though, is to bring him in around the 30th minute or so. That will give guys like Austin Loudon, Dennis Paz an opportunity to run down this back line, tire them out a little bit, so you can bring on someone like Elmquist to attack.
Blake lined up Dindial. Karam's out. Throw here for Connor Dora. Sanchez. Sanchez grinding his way into the action. He's looking for Pascus. There's Bailey. He's intended for Loyola Chicago, now an Atlantic 10 team. All the success of the Fighting Sister Jeans. Upward mobility in the college sports sphere. This falls for Loudon. Sends Falcon diving, and while he spread his wings, he did not make contact.
It's interesting to see the different groups that come together within these tournaments, and sometimes you get teams like we saw for North Carolina Courage and the U19 women's final that aren't around each other a bunch, and the coming together of talent. What can you do with it? You get other teams like Indy 11 where even though you've got a 16-year-old, though you would never be able to tell by looking at him. Quite the stature for Austin Loudon up top. You do have players like Diego Sanchez and Drew Thompson. The outside back, you just saw Grant Bailey, who have been here for quite some time. Grant Bailey has been with this squad since the U13 age group. Kiki Wallace says that he is the most dependable player that he's ever seen. In his entirety of the career that he's been over in charge of him, only really one match has he been off. And it was probably 70 of 90 minutes that he was good. So think about all the games that he's played. But that's the benefit you have if you're Indy 11. All these guys know each other so well. Tampa Bay United following the same path, though.
I mean, that's sort of the deal when you get to a final, and we're going to play 70 minutes here, 35-minute halves, potential for extra time for the first time in the tournament. As tripping down was Adrian Bravo. It's going to belong to Indy here. Got to be able to trust the guy who has your back in this foxhole.
Yeah, 100%. And a level of frustration that sometimes can come out of that. Whether it's Austin Loudon or Jeffrey White in the midfield for Tampa Bay United, Daniel Lugo, if the guys that you regularly depend on aren't there right away, just trust it. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit longer when you get into these games. You want to be at a real high level. It's also the last match that you've played. The thought process mentally lacks a little bit sometimes. You got to continue to be positive with each other and push the match forward.
What a run by Bravo. Bravo indeed. Corner. Blake Wagner spoke to the level of competition. Did manage to rotate, and they've had a different guy seemingly step up every game. Bouncing ball is cleared, but it opens the door to a second service swung through. Scuba's chasing, but this hit from distance. A lacking final product as we reach the quarter-hour mark. The width. Tampa Bay United going to find a little comfort on the ball. Here's Kieran Colvin. Little direct play here from Tampa Bay. And coming off his line, Berglund will make himself big in the moment.
Of what that wind's capable of. Look at the umbrella in the background. Personal battering ram. Not sure the patron expected that to be the case. Looking for a little fortress of solitude. Instead, turned against him. AI will do a million things to you today.
It will.
Even if it's in the form of a fold-up umbrella.
Dara. Flick over seeking Pascas. Held away by Bravo.
Muncie, pass him on.
See what kind of arm Bailey has. Sanchez able to push it forward for Loudon.
You ready to go, Trent? You ready to go? Yep.
Thompson. Back set header. Lifted away by Tampa Bay United. There was a miscommunication between Falcon and the center back there. Taken back by Pascas. He got entangled. Corner one. Colvin stepping in.
Well, the miscommunication, you know, you just hit this with a prayer in hopes that someone can run up underneath it, but on the back shoulder, that's Mahalik, who's a little bit off. Brendan Munson, slow to react to come in on the back shoulder run as well. That's on the goalkeeper, Philip Falcon. Got to make sure that when one starts to overcommit in one area, you've got coverage on the backside.
Header will send Sanchez chasing. Really exciting playmaking prospect. This is going to bounce by Falcon, whose hair I think was a commentary of ours back in MLS Next once upon a time. It's still stunning.
He's gotten a lot bigger, hasn't he?
That's also true. We've hit the hydration break portion of this match here at the halfway point of the first half. Indy 11 and Tampa Bay United featuring in the USL Academy Cup final, presented by Puma, the under-19 elite division. 3 group stage games apiece. And now meeting up here in the finale.
You look at Diego Sanchez
in the background there. He's got the captain's armband on.
Right next to Philip Falcon and, right next to Gray Berglund from Indy 11. You talk about him being an interesting prospect. He's one of the ones that's most commonly brought up when you think about the pathway to pro for Indy 11. The growing pains that can be both a gift and a curse for academy contract guys. Diego Sanchez is kind of going through that right now. And that's a good thing. You're just pushing the development of a player in another direction where, you know, tactically, the individual talent level that he carries, that's not a question whatsoever. But when he's not going to be the focal point, when the game's not going his way, he's got to learn to grind some things out. So the mentality from him, get stuck in tackles, continue to push through battles. When you can't dictate play and be the main guy and it can't be pretty, you got to find another avenue. And they've been really happy with his developmental progress over this tournament because he's wearing the captain's armband. He has been the one to just sort of push through the uncomfortable spots. That shows true growth within a young man who's certainly looking to the first team in the near future. Friendly reminder that he's also got a wicked left foot and he can bury it from anywhere. Yeah,
when you hear Kiki Wallace describe it as a level of free kick ability that he's never coached before, say he's never had a kid like this.
Every single time that he steps up to a ball, doesn't matter where it's at on the field, not only does Diego Sanchez think that he can bury it, more importantly, everybody else around him feels like there's an opportunity for him to produce greatness.
Falcon puts us back in play. About a 2-minute break there. 35-minute halves. We do have stoppage time here in the Academy Cup. And the ever-present possibility of extra time at the end. Scubis. That's Sanchez disconnecting things. Levi Dewey. Trip there, taken back by United.
Almost wonder if Tampa Bay United's electing to go a little bit too quick right now. There's the change that we talked about that could possibly be coming for the 11 and Kiki Wallace.
No. What number?
Cards aren't done yet.
No, that was great. 18 is Grayson Elmquist, who's pretty much been the game winner every single match. But Tampa Bay United, as quickly as they want to move the ball, they also like to maintain possession of it. And right now, you're pretty much just seeing that from the goalkeeper to the back line. They're having trouble linking up with the midfield, so a lot of it is just bypassing up over the top. And it's been very difficult for guys like Asher Jones and Trenton Blake to get on the ball, lest we forget that the most talked about player on this team was Daniel Lugo. He's been almost non-existent 22 minutes into this game.
Well, here are the changes. Nolan Kinsella and Grayson Elmquist enter off the bench. And Dev, maybe the exact timing was unclear, but it was clear to you in speaking to Kiki Wallace that this was coming.
It's a novel idea. He calls it a false start, and it's given his team an opportunity to run the opposition down a little bit, keep the legs fresh up top, although that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to come in and be acclimated to the environment right away. But for guys like Grayson Elmquist, you also get an idea tactically of what the opposition is trying to do. And even though these teams know each other really well, you can always see a little curve to a game plan here and there. One of which is maybe bypassing the midfield, trying to move around guys like Diego Sanchez. So if you're Grayson Elmquist, you come in, some words of wisdom from your manager to the guys that are already on the pitch, and try and get involved as quickly as possible and get up to speed in this match.
Recovering there, Thompson, but now Tampa Bay United the other way. That sends Dora back. White. De Jesus slipping through. There's contact. It's going to roll all the way to the goalkeeper, Berglund. So Pascus and Loudon came off. Loudon hadn't dressed earlier in the tournament, yet he comes in, starts the final 15 minutes, and can get ready for the bus ride back.
Tell Mom what you want for your favorite dinner.
Hopefully it's the kind of, I don't know, Sunday eat out of a trophy. That would be, I'm sure, his thought.
It is cool to see, at least in my eyes, the development of these young men over a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you get an opportunity. You're talking about 15-year-olds with, you know, raw talent that's still being molded. At that point in time, Tampa Bay United with a different manager, and Blake Wagner gets the opportunity to take controls of the helm, help usher these young men into a new era. Kiki Wallace in the 11 as well, but to see the core group stay together, guys like Trenton Blake and Nicholas Skubas, and every year continue to add notches to their game, all of a sudden showing up on the radars of colleges around the country, some of which Trenton Blake already committing to, Dartmouth, as Mike mentioned. Great success stories.
Into the bench. Blake didn't appreciate it. It is with Tampa Bay United. We've had one shot in 25 minutes. What was funny about our first game is you're talking legitimately an hour apart. Greenville and NC Fusion, Cary, and the Courage. These teams see each other multiple times a year, but maybe a feeling out process. Ball through now. Grabbed by Falcon in front of the onrushing Grayson Elmquist. Skubas did well to hold it up. Up the line belongs to Indy 11.
Tuck in, Muntz, tuck in. Give Alexi cover. Be aware of the back post, though.
I mean, Tampa Bay United made reference to it. We don't know all the personnel, but every time we play them, there's a consistent group that we always end up playing against. Header skewed further, pause, and there's goal kick for Falcon. Skubas picks out the diagonal. That's going to get over Dora. And Dora explores his way back to the corner flag.
Ready to set, ready to set. Up, together. Check your stand, Jay. Get Carter up.
One back by Tampa Bay United.
Beautiful ball movement. Commentators curse in full effect there for Trenton Blake, but really smartly done by Skubas and Lugo on that far left side.
Strong pressure in from Elmquist. Tipped down by Blake, but Indy launched back in the attacking half. Down to Sanchez. Sanchez again, tried to put a little texture on it, looking for Kinsella. This time Thompson.
Trent.
And a whistle.
Switch with Lugo.
You just heard the shout there from the sideline to get Daniel Lugo and Trenton Blake to switch.
You got to find a way to get him involved in the run of play. Right now, it's just not enough. Good look at Drew Thompson, and Indiana commit for the class of 2024. That's the midfield pairing of Thompson and Sanchez we talked about. But for Daniel Lugo, a guy who Blake Wagner has such high praise for, we just haven't seen him enough. Blake's so good at bending those runs, whether from the inside playing with his back to goal or starting on the exterior, working his way back in. Now you've got Daniel Lugo with some of that speed. Challenge him against the two center backs, help stretch the game. That also creates more space underneath for Tampa Bay United to operate within.
Bailey floated in behind Elmquist. Falcon was hampered with, to the point that the referee has given the foul. Not going to be any free real estate from here, you would think, for Philip Falcon III.
Actually a little surprised about this because he pulls out of it and Falcon actually drops the ball. Pulls out of the challenge, moves away from the goalkeeper. You're not creating any sort of conflict there. If anything, it's a goalkeeper mistake. Let him play on, but what do I know?
Jones able to leave it off. Blake. Something to show here for Tampa Bay United on the attacking end as we cross the half-hour mark in this final. Another 5 minutes in this first half, plus an indeterminate amount of stoppage time. Kinsella. Indiana did see the foul there, but boys, you are not in Indiana anymore.
No.
Did you ever notice all the tournaments that you went to, like a significantly different whistle based on geography? I mean, obviously by the time you went to Germany, I imagine it was notably different.
Didn't notice it based upon geography. What I noticed is you would see the same refs in terms of geography. So the whistle itself didn't necessarily change based upon location, but the refs, let's just say that I hope they varied a little bit more.
Bravo. Trying to gain a reputation, but not the one Devin has. Touched across. It was split between two minds. And there's Scubis back. Dev mentioned Academy League player of the tournament. Dipping ball in behind here for Tampa Bay United. Settled by Lugo. With the hold-up play, the turn, Lugo, a blast! Bobbled and recovered by Berglund. Had Asher Jones racing up. Should he have dropped that?
I'm still trying to figure out how he got this off. Good job. He recognizes that he's got the pressure on the backside, and look at, even 3v1. Cuts it in a negative space, moving his body the opposite direction, and is able to uncork from just outside the top of the 18. That's the best and most we've seen out of Daniel Lugo so far.
If you're Kegris, what more can you do? You sort of line him up, and once he has a spin that clean and a move that decisive, you're sort of left out to dry, right?
The one problem I will say that you ran into in that situation is too many players from Indy 11 with an opportunity to step in. So yes, Kegris is right there, but with a couple of guys in support around, your mind sort of drifts like, oh, he'll step in there. I can pass the runner just subconsciously and it'll be just fine. And that's not the case. If anything, it's harder. Because of the fact that there's that gray area of who's going to be involved in the challenge, you've got to make sure you are crystal clear with what you expect out of your supporting staff around you and the step that you're about to make.
Well, thankfully, the area behind him is also a gray area of sorts. Berglund's, of course. we'll see if this second half perhaps opens the game up a little bit. It's amazing how you get into the tail end of 4 games and nearly 280 minutes in a 3.5-day span. Of course, a trophy on the line. There was no foul. That ball had actually gotten over the line. So it's a throw here, the final minute of the opening half with stoppage to follow. You know, we were seeing like 11 minutes of stoppage in Qatar.
Yeah, that ain't gonna fly.
Whether it does or it doesn't, these academy games to this point have been rather swift moving. You kind of wish that this tempo would continue into the professional ranks from time to time.
Well, are you submitting your request for 35-minute halves?
Well, that's a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it?
Let's be clear, I'm signing up for it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you go from...
If you can play futsal on a small field, you could definitely play soccer with, 3/4 of the clock.
It's not 3/4, but it's close to it.
I'm ballparking it.
Yeah.
You want percentages?
Well, you came to the wrong place.
Yeah.
The Einstein effect never took place in my developmental phase.
What if, Dennis? What if?
2 added minutes, basically the extent of the hydration break, really. Rolled up by Kinsella. The return, Kinsella. That is an Indy 11 corner with 1.5 minutes to play in the opening half.
How much more now after the request for another ball that ended up in the ride-share lot? Taxi. Oh, no, there we go.
It's back. Select is the official ball of the USL Championship and many of the elite leagues throughout Europe. Indy 11 has the player's choice ball back at their feet. Corner here for Indy 11. That one had a little different airflow than the previous ball, I'm sure.
Brady was in the corner with a pump.
Bailey. Snap down. Bailey may get there first, but Lugo flips it into the Indy half. Another half minute here. There's still work to be done. Dindial. And now Dora. Left the map at home.
Get us up, Phil. Get up, Kieran. Get up, Alexi.
And that's halftime here in the USL Academy Cup final. Indy 11 and Tampa Bay United. It feels a little rowdy against Indy 11 style. Nothing simple in this game. Two sides trying to piece the puzzle together. Scoreless after 35.
There was some good movements from both teams. You can understand that they're tentative, though. There's some nervous ticks about them, and whether it be finding a way with the wind to stick to your morals and values or exploring outside of that, who knows? That's a conversation to be had with your manager right now. Guys like Trent and Blake, get yourself back on track, find some momentum. They were a little bit quiet here in the first half as Indy 11, certainly the aggressor.
Nervy, physical, and 2 select balls, thankfully, that we'll be able to use in the second half. To paraphrase, 35 minutes down, 35 minutes to go. Indy 11 and Tampa Bay United scoreless at the break.
Come on, good stuff, good stuff.
Michelangelo of catching that. This is a lot better. I was so stressed out on that first. I'm like, God. First one was practice. Thank you. This is the gentleman that you saved us. Better right there? Okay, let me zoom in and see what it looks like. That's okay? Sure.
Welcome back to the USL Academy Cup final presented by Puma. Indy 11 and Tampa Bay United are scoreless at halftime with 35 minutes in the books. To remind you about what USL Academy's overarching goal is. This is the beginning of a pathway that ultimately leads through League One, League Two, ultimately to the championship, and the Academy to Championship pipeline is already putting out some very significant players. For Indy 11, that includes Alan Torres. Christian Nava injured for New Mexico United, but a very bright young talent. Duran Ferry was just part of the USA contingent that qualified for the World Cup. How about Hanregi and Panagos, part of the Sacramento team that reached the US Open Cup final a year ago? Dunn, Maldonado, Abarca, all out in the Western Conference. But Louisville specifically has figured out how to do this at a very high level. Everyone's talking about Josh Winder. Why? He may go for a 7-figure transfer fee over to Europe, and we'll walk through that at a later point in time. Winder being linked to Benfica in Portugal. Sebastian Sanchez, who's also the son of the USL Academy director at Louisville. Carlos Mogul started last night. Elijah Winder is getting significant time, and Owen Dom as well. That Louisville Academy dev is some top-notch players coming through, already playing in the championship.
They seem to be doing just fine. I've got my eyes on Carlos Mogul Jr. as really the next one who's going to push his way up. May not necessarily make that jump to Europe as quickly as the rumor for Josh Winder or Jonathan Gomez did, but he's right there in the pecking order.
He's not a boy, he's a mogul, as we know. How about we take a look back at the girls' final earlier today. NC Fusion taking on NC Courage. Opening goal from Aaron Gabriel.
It's a great movement by Ashley McGuire. Just look at the cut back across to get down into the corner, but lest we forget North Carolina Courage and the beautiful run that could be. Lauren Thompson, the best player on the evening for sure. She got the equalizer in the 15th minute. Great run down into the corner, picked out that bottom corner. One-on-one is all the talk about her capability, and she got him back to even Stevens.
And then Sarah Martinez tees up Riley Keeley. It actually backheeled the ball off the goal line. It could have been the winner. Instead, she's just going to score it herself.
Had to repay the favor. This is well outside the line of confrontation. You're pushing 30 yards out into the bottom corner, and a title for the young ladies that work so hard from the North Carolina Courage. Extremely well deserved.
Another trophy for the courageous team from Cary. How about we take a look at the highlights from this game? There haven't been all that many to this point, Dev.
No, it's been quiet. They're trying to feel each other out here. And look, the chances that we have seen have been what's called half chances. They're opportunities that sort of squeak their way through, and you're hoping that you can get something onto it. That's exactly what the thought is for Jeffrey Wright. Great back post run. Unfortunately, the angle that he's trying to get, very difficult to come by. A response from Indy 11. They had more of the possession early on, but again, the bounce back over the top, you're hoping that Dennis Paz can run onto it. Instead, there's pressure there by Philip Falcon and the center back to push the ball away.
It's been a stalemate, but don't call it stale. This is Tampa Bay United's best chance, you could argue, in that opening half.
They had taken Trenton Blake, moved him to the outside. Daniel Lugo comes into the 9, back to goal. Didn't have a lot of service into him, so he starts to create on his own. That's a real good look at why he won the Golden Ball on the way to the national title in the USL Academy in 2022. He's a finisher by trade, and unfortunately, he just had not have a lot of opportunities in that opening 35 minutes.
All right, Dev, it's about 90 degrees at this stage, and yes, there's a cooling breeze here in Florida that helps, but these players that are looking at the final half, maybe there's extra time, but right now you'd certainly hope both sides are intent on making sure there's only 35 minutes to go here in this tournament. It's the message from the two head coaches as they wander back onto the field.
Tampa Bay United is going to be about finding Daniel Lugo. There was enough within that half that they produced that showed that even if they went direct, they could find results. That's with Indy sitting back. But you got to get Daniel Lugo involved. Now, we saw enough out of Asher Jones, and we certainly saw enough out of Trenton Blake. You play into and off of Daniel Lugo, you can find success because the midfield will trail and find that. If you're Kiki Wallace and Indy 11, this is going to be about withstanding some of the pressure that is about to be thrown your direction and finding Grayson Elmquist, because bringing him off the bench in the 22nd minute, that was the plan, but he did a ton of chasing. So both number 9s in absentia in the first half, got to get them active and regularly, because we didn't see enough of that.
And that's why Devin got halfway to a law degree or something like that. Second half ready to commence here between Indy 11 and Tampa Bay United. These are giants on what is a very short historic runway of the USL Academy. Make no mistake, any history that's going to be written is going to start with these two teams. First kick belongs to Tampa Bay. We may just be 35 minutes now from a champion. Indy 11 arriving at this point. 4 goals scored, none conceded. Into the final third here. And attaining the opening set piece of this second half. 2-0 over Real Colorado. Kinsella and Elmquist scored. Elmquist has the only goals in the last 2 games against Wake and Phoenix Rising. Tampa Bay United, a 3-1 win against Hartford. Knock off Cleveland with the help of an own goal. And then outdo Park City for much of that game, but ultimately fall 3-2 to the side from the Red Wolves organization in Chattanooga. return to Indy here eventually. Bailey is no longer in absentia.
Tighter, Connor, tighter. You can always pop off if you need the ball, but right now you're not letting it get out.
The options to throw to very much are.
And go long and play off of it. That's the idea from Grant Bailey and 11 on the far side.
Actually looked like Dora lost a shin guard and all that somehow. That's a free kick won by Dennis Paz. 100 ticks into the second half.
And the angle, though, is not going to be very kind to Diego Sanchez to have a go from that distance. Just a little bit too much on the diagonal for him to go direct towards the goalkeeper. With his left foot, though, it does set up nicely for an outswinger to be able to get someone to run onto it.
Different blue-clad team walking by, smoothie in tow. It's an academy tournament at its best if I've ever seen it. A set piece for Indy 11. Whipped dangerously, but tipping out. It's a Tampa Bay goal kick. And the Falcon will nest back inside his 6. Falcon lets it fly. Toward Lugo, there's an injury in midfield. Well, there's a need to take this boot off altogether after that step on the heel.
What kind of boots is he wearing?
I don't think I'm legally allowed to answer that based on the logo.
Oh, fair enough.
This is the USL Academy Cup final. It is presented by Puma. That'll bounce off the back of Kinsella, came on as a first half sub. He and Elmquist both in for Indy. No subs at halftime. Dewey.
Oh, that's contact.
And the whistle you hear is coming from an adjacent field. That's a clean challenge, apparently. Sanchez trying to slow things up. Tampa Bay is undeterred. This is Munson. Munson tried to get a piece. Dewey is back into the action. With Indy here. Can Indy find one off a set piece here? They felt like this is an area that they could win. Bouncing ball from Sanchez forward, and Kinsella co-signs that to oblivion. Falcon headed to the Ivy League. Much like Trent and Blake, they'll be rivals soon enough, Dartmouth and Penn.
Take your time. Get something out of it. Get something out of it. You don't have enough numbers forward.
Dev, this was part of the conversation. Don't leak goals. And there's one or two that this team can get, and they feel like set pieces are an area where they could really excel.
This distance, though, it'd be hard-pressed to have a go direct.
Sanchez, as a lead as he is a free kick taker, trying to put that over the spot. Turning effort, Kinsella, no. Struck by Dora. Still after Dewey. And do we have a corner? Yes, we do. Dewey levitating. Back heel comes to Falcon.
Another ball in the box. Second.
First header's away here for Tampa Bay. Toward Lugo. But this is Captain slashed it goal by Sanchez.
Thought that took a little deflection. It seemed to have picked up an obstacle on the way out of things. Well collected there, and then a little spin off. Left footer for Diego Sanchez from distance.
By the way, I appreciate that all you have to do is scan that QR code and you can
That's not
work
all
toward
you have to do.
work toward being a certified referee. I'm appreciative.
Go. Tight here, Levi. Tight. Go, Nolan. Go. Attaboy. Jai, don't mind the idea. Well done.
Mentorship, instruction from experienced crew at the Academy League Finals back in November, and that continues here. Referees with the same ambitions as many of these young players to eventually work in the professional game if they don't already.
Well, that was a good look in the background of Bobby Edwards, who's part of the coaching staff for not only the 11, but the championship squad as well. Of course, right now helping out Kiki Wallace, former professional goalkeeper Bobby Edwards.
He's been a part of that staff now for a while at Indy.
Couple of seasons, yeah.
Keep it rolling.
Press results merely as a throw here for Tampa Bay. You know, that's one of the fun things too. I mean, you know, look at Blake Wagner for Tampa Bay, guy who was drafted in 2006. We're getting to the point where a lot of guys in that era are past their playing careers. And in theory, because they've gotten better, they're now influencing the youth to be better. And in theory, this should be a slinky down the stairs. It just doesn't stop.
That's the hope for it. I mean, you and I talk behind the scenes all the time about where the game needs to continue to progress, and that's one of my biggest arguments, is whether someone stops playing at the age of 20 or at the age of 38 and how much they're able to achieve within that window, you've got to find a way to continue that development. And in this case, you're taking a seasoned professional, trying to figure out a way how to utilizing all that knowledge that he was able to garner, right? And then pass it on to the next generation. That's why this country continues to develop at a high rate.
This is cracked off frame. Wide of the post. Indy 11 on the precipice.
The turn, another half chance from distance. There's the hold-up play from Grayson Elmquist. Last time we saw Diego Sanchez in the advanced position. This time it's Dennis Paz just operating right underneath. They're still having a little bit of trouble trying to figure out what positionally he's going to fit in best tonight, because Kinsella on the left-hand side, he's operating over the left shoulder, he's bouncing to the right, he's kind of given carte blanche to go wherever he wants, but Dennis Paz hasn't had the full effect they've liked to see out of him so far.
Flicked away by Dewey. Elmquist, the danger man. Tampa Bay extinguishes that. That's well done by Mahalik. But taken back here by Indy, across the face, a goal by Kinsella. Bypassed Falcon. Some of the fans here looking on for the Tampa Bay United friendly. This is a simple road swing. A field they're not all that unfamiliar with. And physicality continues for the boys from Indy. Birds of a different feather flying south. Falcon prepares for the goal kick.
Well done.
Well, there's still something here, although headed away from Paz.
Kinsella made such a good movement to bring that down. How's the counter now from Asher Jones?
Jones flying. Jones was seeking Blake.
That's where they're at their best, though. Tampa Bay United out in the open, running freely. Still in search of talisman Daniel Lugo, who has come back to this left-hand flank. Really only talk about one at times. A second one can come into the back end of the conversation, but not necessarily a tandem, nor all three. Might be a concern for Blake Wagner right now. There you go.
Mahalik deep in his bag and teed up for Blake. Sometimes you need a center back, and I know I'm preaching to a very specific choir here. If you're able to pull one person out of position, it can be quite the domino effect. This struck from long range, and it won't test Gray Berglund. You know, really cool for Gray Berglund to step in and be the guy throughout this tournament. A lot of teams have switched goalkeepers. That has not been the case.
No, they've stayed with him, and to be given the opportunity in general, right? Remember that he was not the number one. He was forever the backup. U17s, the playoffs in November, the Academy Cup last year that they won. They decided after the playoffs last fall that he deserved his own chance, and they knew for quite some time that this was going to be his event. The problem is they didn't share that with his family. The parents actually came, his father specifically, and said, you know, what's the trip going to look like? Not necessarily sure we're going to come if he's going to be a backup again, has an opportunity to play local. And he said, well, you know, maybe you might want to think about that because it's his turn to play. And he's certainly done very well. Good instincts, nice shot stopper, not afraid to come out and challenge in one-on-one situations. They've had him since he was 12 years of age. Just that from a distance, doesn't necessarily pass the eye test, but plays a lot bigger than his size.
Sanchez.
Behind it early, come on, Dennis, get back, get back. Oh.
Falcon. Lifted up field here for Indy 11. Going to see Mahalik. Thrown in by Dora. Dora reverses. This comes to Blake.
Go, 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 go. Behind it. Levi, back for Diego till he's there. Keep going.
Driving through midfield. Blake. Forward from Jones. And the save. And recovered by Berglund.
A wide open field to play. This is exactly what Blake Wagner wants. And how's the vision, by the way? An unselfishness from Trenton Blake. Overlapping runs, the late delayed run. Asher Jones, good vision to play off of, and then around the back line here for the 11. Seem to be growing into this game, the front line over the past couple of minutes for Tampa Bay United. That's a head injury waiting to happen.
Both players pulled out just enough.
Second ball, shoot, get him out.
Michael, brilliant cover, good. Okay, Nicholas, next one.
Kinsella.
Win a corner, win a corner.
Looks as we hit that 18 minutes into the half, at the midway point. Temps still spiking. Hydration break here. Remember, we're only going 70 minutes here. And whatever stoppage remains after that, if we're scoreless still, we would go to extra time, which would revert to the standard 15-minute halves. That in mind, Dev, we spoke a little bit, I've spoke a little bit about sort of that USL Academy to professional pipeline. How about the Academy making its way over to Europe? And look, there's a lot of different ways to have the professional career of your dreams, but for a number of people in this country, it still remains getting to Europe at some point.
A lot of these guys not only getting the opportunity to go play professionally abroad, but representing their country in doing so. Whether it's Kobe Henry, Aaron Cervantes, Lanes, Ko, all of these guys are getting reps at the youth national team level, but it is a real testament to what the USL Academy is capable of, because it is great to see it go from the academy into the first team on an academy contract like we see out of a player like Diego Sanchez. It's another to get onto a first team contract, but to start to add all of these layers together, you're talking about a real complement to each other to produce talent at so many different levels that creates global exposure and profit.
Dev, you and I have had the chance to talk to both Jake Edwards, president of USL, and Mark Cartwright, who's taken over the sporting director role for the league, which is not a very common position to have for a league, but all the experience he brings from England to try and help facilitate that pathway, because it's not that simple. And once you get a couple guys, Henry and Jonathan Gomez, who didn't come from the USL Academy structure, but out of the championship, we're soon to see Winder make the move. In theory, there's now this clearly defined route where the U.S. youth national team is realistic, Europe is realistic, and in theory, that's a snowball that rolls and continues to develop here.
Let's talk about that word profit that could be misconstrued negatively, because it's a business, right? Here's how I view the profit margin for these organizations. I said last year when Kobe Henry was sold from Orange County, right, to Rhymes, a deal that on the back end pushed 7 figures, right? I said that watch when Josh Winder gets sold, that's going to be $1.5 million plus. And people balked at that idea, but the reason that I said it was because it continues to raise the bar on what's capable business-wise for these organizations. That money then in turns creates more opportunities for more players. It's more money, which creates more ventures. And down the line, you see more success. So it's not just, oh, we're selling players and we're making money off of them. It's where the money goes after the fact. It's back into each of these individual institutions that allows you to create more advanced layers, better players, and more success down the line.
Lugo, Blake, and Dora deep in his backpack defensively to push that away.
16. I think the director said 16.
Snap back up by Mateus de Jesus.
I think you said it right. I think he just repeated.
Munson. Oh, this is dangerous. Blake. The angle continued to tighten. And eventually, Indy up to the task.
That's a hell of a run by Giovanni Leone. Defensively, just come in. How's the cutback across? Heck of a run right there.
Leone is set to go to IUPUI, which the logo is familiar certainly to Indy 11 fans. Circle City campus of Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis.
Well, as a center back to come on and get involved in the speed of play so quickly. Not only that, but to slide over and make a tackle of that nature, very impressive from Giovanni Leone.
Dora. Taken back by De Jesus. All that effort by Scubas. Out to Asher Jones. Pings off of Dennis Paz. Approaching the final 10 minutes here in this 70-minute final. Mahalik.
Together.
The chasing from Nolan Kinsella. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kinsella, Munster, Indiana native, was playing high school basketball until the last month or so.
They had to wait for him to finish because the high school basketball coach wouldn't release him.
White, that's a hopper that's simple for Berglund.
That may seem harmless, but in terms of development, mentally how it can affect a player, it's not the easiest route when you don't have an opportunity to train on a regular basis. And for Kinsella, he's a guy who they've only had it for about a month or so right now, but Indiana University, one of the best institutions in all the land. Christian Lamelli, the assistant coaches, came by the past couple of days to put an eye on him.
Yes, Levi, yes.
Toward Lugo. Lugo isolates. Slide in, took it away from Lugo, but not away from Tampa Bay United. Munson. Ball chested down, spinning Blake. Sets up for Bravo. Off of Grant Bailey. Dependable as ever.
Really surprised that Trenton Blake didn't let this fly. When this thing came square back across the box, Giovanni Leone does a good job about sliding into the path of Trenton Blake, but he did have a window. Now, you can't fault him for stopping it and trying to bring it back, but on the left foot, just release it early and see if you can challenge the goalkeeper. This is what I was talking about. Watch as the ball comes back into the middle. Trenton Blake, on the touch that comes back across the 18, Leone has to slide over right here. Hit it with your left. Instead, he wants to get it on his right foot, and so immediately the thought is, I've got to get it over there no matter what. His body shifted, and he removed the opportunity to do so.
Berglund out to touch. This should lead to the changes here for Tampa Bay.
Lugo.
Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah.
Santi Balza coming in as well. That's it for White. And there's Wilson coming in. Replaces Lugo. They did seem to find Lugo a few more times than they did in the first.
Not enough, though. Certainly not to the liking of Blake Wagner for a guy that is so influential in this squad. Quite quiet, to be honest.
Both those guys, White and Lugo, are bound for the ACC. One to Wake Forest, the other to UNC. Bouncing free Elmquist. Tampa Bay United stand tall. They've liked that look down the right side for Asher Jones, but couldn't connect on the diagonal. We're talking just 7.5 minutes to go. We've played 90% of this final now, and still no clarity. Sanchez, that is going to bounce wide. That is a defensive header, nearly gone catastrophic, but it did the job in the end. Still a corner to deal with now.
I was really surprised that Philip Falcon didn't track this the way that I thought he would, and I'm not blaming him. A little turn right there. Flick over the shoulder. Very lucky this doesn't end up in the back of his own net.
Corner for Indy 11. Up in the air, and Falcon, as a bird of prey, able to reach up and pull it down. And with the distribution.
Keep coming, Luke. Keep coming. Come on, Dennis. Come on, Dennis. Mason, keep coming.
Sanchez is there for Indy.
Too easy there. It's too easy. 10 run. Let him play a channel, Grayson. Stand your feet. Stand your feet.
Munson. Left-footed with a big engine. Finding a left-footed left back can be a little bit of a unicorn at the youth level. Wilson got it wide. Circulating central.
That's too easy, guys.
That was Leon up to the task. Able to circumnavigate Munson.
Join him, Nolan, join him. Dennis, go ahead.
Mahalik had to be perfect.
Really good direction being given by both Kiki Wallace from Indy 11 and Blake Wagner from Tampa Bay United, trying to help their guys stay organized and when to pressure, when to back off. Love what I'm hearing from the sideline.
Here it comes again, Balza. This time it's Dora.
Don't let the forward float by himself, and then in transition he's able to turn. You know, we got 3 guys around it, but no one's putting pressure on the guy.
Coach. Sorry.
5 minutes to play. Balza. Scubis. Pressure all the way back to Falcon. Leon. Danger brewing for Tampa Bay United. They're dropping back. This curling ball across, bouncing for Sanchez. That's cleared, but it's a brief respite. Collected by Thompson. Thompson delivers with a matter of minutes to go. It's Falcon soaring up to bring it down.
Come on, Owen, come on, Owen, get behind it, slow it up, just slow it up. You don't need to win it, slow it up and let guys get back. That's brilliant, kid, that's brilliant.
70-minute game. We're down to 3 minutes now, plus stoppage. This is the USL Academy Cup final presented by Puma. Indy 11 and Tampa Bay United, last standing in the elite under-19s.
Get in, Levi, get in! Forward, forward. Pressure here. Come on, Levi. Great ball,
Dora got his head to it. Leon bothered by Blake. The return offside for Santibalza there.
Gotta be smart. That's just real easy for a player to just peek over and see where you're at. And you might expect it, unfortunately, for a player that's been in the entire time, but not from a substitute.
Munson. Oh, room to run. Off the turn, Wilson. Blake.
Ready to step! Ready to step! Up, 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 up!
Munson. Caught Dora.
That's really good defending. Beautiful from the entire group on the back line from Indy 11. Giovanni Lone steps up, Conadora passing players off to each other. The way that Santiago Albaza is coming up over there. Trenton Blake involved.
Good to see Dora back up. He got clipped in the boots.
Ball's coming. Ball's coming. Any extra time?
Leon.
Cut, cut! Forward!
Header steered forward. This is bright here, Blake. Jones has the option percolating over the top. That broke down. Over toward Jones. Offside. 3 added minutes. If we don't have a winner after 3 minutes, we'll go 30 more.
Get under it, Nolan. Where do you think it's going to land? Put your head under it. Let Grayson run on.
One moment, Greg.
Squeeze, Levi, inside. Inside.
Jones. Are there heroics here for Tampa Bay United? He remains on his feet. This ball over the top. Appeal for the offside flag. It does arrive as the shot goes awry. It's Indy now. Does this find the backside? It did. Pause.
Balance, manage our balance.
A few more red shirts in the penalty area now. Pause. The throw for Indy.
Connor, be aware, not too far.
Can they present a trophy to the Brickyard Battalion? Time will tell.
You're good in front of you.
Chested down to Kinsella. And Tampa Bay now watches the pendulum swing.
Behind it, let's go, Red. Let's go, get behind it. Come on, Dennis, come on, Nolan.
Quickly, guys, 30 seconds. Quickly. Mateus, we gotta serve the ball somehow. 30 seconds.
A goal now, surely a winner.
Stay in the box, Isaiah. Muncie, stay in the box.
Problem with the upcoming 30 if we get there. These players look gassed. There's the turn at the end line and the cutback ball. Leon.
Serve it, Kieran.
Up, get up.
Sir!
That is a free kick for Tampa Bay United.
Behind it. Come on, Dennis.
You got to think it's everybody but the keeper trying to get out in front of this.
I would expect Asher Jones and Nicholas Skubis to stand up over this one.
Everybody's marked.
The relative distance much too far in theory to have a crack at it.
Luke's your mark.
Yet Skubis did hit one from the fall en route to their national title winning venture last time out.
Backside.
The wall is 3. Jones and Skubis over it. Skubis for glory! Wide. And now we have 30 more minutes to pursue said glory.
You can't blame him for trying to have a go on his own, especially for Gray Berglund in Indy 11, who has to be so honest with himself. All the runners on the backside, Skubis trying to catch him cheating a little bit. There's just not enough behind it. Doesn't get enough rotation on the ball, doesn't have enough power. And for the captain, who tried to steal it at the death, he's gonna have to wait a little longer. 30 more minutes to achieve the ultimate title for either one of these squads.
Well, we'll pause for a moment as the players, I think equally, need a measure of rehydration and refreshment. We've gone 70, we got 30 to go. Indy and Tampa Bay scoreless at full time with extra time to come in the USL Academy Cup final presented by Puma.
I'll try not to, but it is what it is.
Go ahead and check in. You gotta
Figure out who's on which side with this coin toss right now. Captain, please.
Indy 11 and Tampa Bay United, 70 minutes, not enough, so we go another 30. Here in the USL Academy Cup final presented by Puma. The Under-19 Elite Division. Two very familiar names. Dev, it's kind of funny. You get to extra time sometimes and you find that little burst of energy and you find the goal that you were looking for 72, 75, 78 minutes for.
These guys look tired, though.
True enough.
They look like they've been through it over the past couple of days. Energy lacking, slow to respond. You wonder for Kiki Wallace and Indy 11 what's left in the tank. Same argument for Tampa Bay United, who I will say has grown into this game. Felt like if there was going to be a breakthrough, it would have been for the gentleman in the blue jerseys just at the tail end of things.
You see Amari Folks came in, and now on the left-hand side, Benji Chavarria into the game as well. Indy 11 dipping deeper into their bench here to try and compensate for those crisp limbs. Minute and a half in. Update that's just been sent to me.
Tell me.
Should move this thing along pretty quick. 10-minute halves in extra time.
Oh, instead of 15.
This is the, of course, with group stage play leading up to it, the first instance in which we've had extra time to contend with. The rules have been clarified. Folks upfield. Bouncing ball through here. Taken out of the air. That didn't land from Dewey. And now Folks. Chavaria, who's set to go to Loyola Chicago. Sent that out of play. He'll join Grant Bailey there. You may see the entire left side of that Rambler lineup together in advance here with Indy 11.
Cover, Gio. Get behind it. Organize, watch play.
That's Scubis over the ball. Scubis.
That's a ball.
That's good texture.
I'll give both of these teams credit that from
Narrow, Benji, narrow, Grant. Can we get up to half?
it's a lot of kickball right now.
Is that a tired leg thing at this point?
Yeah, mentally it's so difficult at this stage, and I understand that, okay, well, 75th minute overtime, you haven't played 90, but when you play all these games in a row, it's hard.
Blake got in behind.
Well done, Gio!
You think to yourself that if you just knock it and hit the reset button, it's much easier, but instead, if you put the ball on the deck and let it do the work, you'll be just fine. Scubis understands that. He recognizes that the high line of Indy 11 is much too advanced, and even though Giovanni Leone has the speed to get back into this, Trenton Blake had already read it. He knew that Nicholas Scubis has the perfect amount of vision and has the whereabouts to pick him out. He almost grabbed the go-ahead goal.
Good recovery for Indy 11. Up the line, quite the tackle, and now the whistle. Isaiah Wilson is drawing the referee's ire. And a yellow card, first we've seen today.
Blake Wagner's frustrated. He says it to him, it's a good challenge. And, you know, I feel two parts of this. One, he gets the ball, yes. The problem is his run actually starts from behind the player, and it's a very difficult angle to see from the coach's vantage point, but the arm has to reach out to then pull the player down and create contact with the ball. It's a good call by the referee.
Diego Sanchez. Dangerous set piece taker.
Come across, Trent, come across. Come on, Asher, help him. Second ball, Scoot. Come on, Scoot. No fouls, no fouls, no fouls. Hit the ball, let's go.
Folks.
Careful, Kieran.
Flicked early by Kinsella.
Oh.
And taken on a dime! And blasted home! Indy 11 finally have the answer! It's their man again! Grayson Elmquist has scored in all 4 games, and he may have taken Indy to the trophy.
The maturation process over the past 4 to 5 months has really taken the weight off the shoulders for Grayson Elmquist. Last fall, they didn't have the guy that could be the big game striker. They had to sit deeper, find a way to counter together. Now, they've got that explosion, and it's always Grayson Elmquist. How's the touch around, and then the finish into the bottom corner. To get this right, timing is the utmost of importance, and Grayson Elmquist knocks it out of the park.
4 games, 4 goals. The 78th minute, and with 2 minutes remaining in this first period of extra time, the additional 10 to follow. Tampa Bay United are now behind the 8 ball. You mentioned that college commitment headed to Xavier in the Big East. Couple hours away from Indianapolis.
It's not easy for a 9. You know, he's challenging, he's chasing, he hasn't had a lot of service, and yet no issues whatsoever to continue to get a tremendous amount of work ethic out of Grayson Elmquist up top. Could have easily put his head down, faded away from the game. Didn't get the start, and although that was by design, that's not easy for a player either to come in. And the moment that he stepped foot onto the field in the 23rd minute, he has been very busy. Disruptive on the back line for Tampa Bay United, part of the building block. It would help give this team success, but he was waiting for his own moment, and he's finally found it in the 78th minute of this final.
Indy player that was down a moment ago is ushered back in. That's Dewey. Indy back to the full complement of 11. Dewey. Indy could break this thing open. Elmquist broke down. Colvin. Upfield from Falcon. 2 added minutes in the first period of extra time.
Keep coming, Grayson. Keep coming, kid. It's worth it. Levi, keep coming if you can. Levi, 19. No second balls to 19. You track him in the box. Mark it.
Into the width. Floated across. Willed it too far.
Squeeze up. Gray, this side. Gray, this side. No one's here. This side. Squeeze up. This way. This way.
You think about the players that came in. Folks a little deeper in midfield. Leon came in late in the second half. Indy 11, well, you could argue that having attacking subs would be great. When a lot of defenders would feel like they're in quicksand right now, you'd think both of them are as fresh as could be. Now they're protecting a lead.
Yeah, can they protect it is the real question, because they have given up opportunities through those changes. Certainly much better than what we saw in the first 35-minute half. Well, the good news is it seems that Asher Jones's speed has been kept at bay. And whether it be balls up, Isaiah Wilson, overlapping runs, Scubas coming out of the midfield, or even Trenton Blake, they have not managed to find their goal on the afternoon. Right now, that rests on the shoulders of Grayson Elmquist in the 78th minute. Beautiful half turn on the half volley that puts his team in the lead and an opportunity for another title in their sights with just 10 minutes to go.
They will be switching sides here for the final 10 minutes. We've reached the halftime of the extra time. 80 minutes down, 10 minutes to go. Indy 11 1, Tampa Bay United 0.
It didn't come from this one. I don't think so. Come around here, same. Yeah, come around here.
They've made 7 subs. Is the USL Academy Cup final presented by Puma. 10 minutes remain. Indy 11 garner the lead, 78th minute, the first period of extra time. Grayson Elmquist has now scored in 4 games running at the tournament. They have yet to concede a goal. And after 290 minutes, all Indy 11 has to do is get the last 10 with the 0, and this will be as perfect a run defensively as you can muster. Indy 11 1, Tampa Bay United 0 in the U19 Elite Final.
Find Adrian early. Find him early. Find him early. Play it in front of him.
No split! No split!
It's Tampa Bay United taking ownership of the first few minutes.
Adrian or Alexi, if you play that 5 yards in front of him, he can drive with the ball versus play behind him.
Watch the throwers! Someone's ready to go!
We're going to play this up to 90 minutes now, the 70 plus the 2 10s.
Love that, by the way. Just a good conversation with Alexi Mahalik and Blake Wagner on the sideline for Tampa Bay United. Inside 10 minutes to go, you might think that managers are only searching for the win, but not Blake Wagner. He wants to win, but he wants to continue to teach as well, telling him the ball's in front. It allows his teammate to drive with it on his standing foot. Instead, it's behind him, so he has to come back, receive it, and then turn. That takes time, and it allows the defense to set themselves up. Great job by Blake Wagner pointing his guys in the right direction.
Zavorovich came on for Dewey. That's it on the Indy 11 bench in terms of field players.
Keep the line together!
Yep, go ahead. Stay inside, Santi.
Hayden Vostel is signed to an academy deal for Indy, the reserve goalkeeper. It won't feature here. Gray Berglund going the distance. That is a long diagonal. Balza shimmied off.
Conadora again.
Successfully swiping it away.
Neither Giovanni Leone or Conadora on the right-hand side of this back line for Indy. They don't overcommit. They're very patient in their actions. So even when you've got Balza who's running at you one-on-one, quick little step over, they're very patient in their actions, not diving in.
It's a foul from Wilson.
Go, ref. Hey, Isaiah, it's going to be a foul if you extend your arms.
So now, Benji, you help.
Dev, I'm so impressed by the amount of teaching I'm hearing. Isaiah,
Yeah.
that's a foul if you extend your arms.
Great, right? Again, like, there's no right or wrong, but in my eyes, there is a better way. If you want to teach the competition aspect of things and find a way for your guys to compete, totally get that. But technically and tactically, with moments to go in an overtime game, to still be able
Benji, so that'll be
to
you.
express yourself from an educational
On
standpoint
this side, tuck
as
in.
a manager.
On the other side, you're out.
I want to see you guys here. Listen, instead of doing that, do this. That'll give you the one-up advantage, because even if right now it doesn't give you the leg up, mentally that player is going to think, well, if I would have done that in that situation, maybe I could have helped my team get to the next opportunity.
You saw Velasquez came into the game to stop as well. He's bound for Stetson moving forward. Organizer, vocal leader. This is bright here for Tampa Bay, and it's snuffed out by Giovanni Leon.
Stay marked.
Notice how deep Indy are. Tampa Bay United, they're going to have to get out of their comfort zone. The long balls that seem to find the most success for them over the past couple of seasons, including in this tournament, they're not going to be as prevalent. You're going to have to work through tighter spaces, rapidly move from different lines, A to B to C, much quicker, and you got to communicate. No turnovers like that.
Here comes Indy. They're looking for the dagger. You'll note most of the other fields now are vacated. The tournament has ended essentially for everybody but those involved right here.
Look at the corners.
Yeah.
All the corners, different age groups coming over to watch. Remember, this is what you aspire to. You know what you know. So you're trying to make your way to the first team for sure, but everybody knows that the U19s, that's the level that you're working towards first.
Stay seated, guys. Stay seated with the bib on.
The North Carolina Courage on the girls' side, U19 Elite Champions. Indy 11 is now 5 minutes away from etching their name on the trophy. Caromed away.
Get home, Connor. Get home, Connor.
Eddie, drop in. Eddie, turn. Eddie, turn. Ready to put pressure on the ball.
Friere came in for Tampa Bay wearing the blue 7.
Great ball.
Ball through, asking questions. Blake has gone the distance today. Too soon to send the goalkeeper right.
It's too soon, but again, well read by Giovanni Leon, just sliding over there. That's some kind of ball coming off the back line for Tampa Bay United, and a beautiful touch by Trenton Blake.
Balza delivers. Skitters through to the backside. The aforementioned Friere.
Lexi, guys. Lexi, we got to start serving balls. Couple minutes. It's the second time tying his shoe, ref.
Well, he does have 2 shoes.
Come on, Noah. Need this touch. Need this touch. Grayson Gamble.
At the end of the day, the beauty of this has been 2 teams intent on development and having that positive competitive edge throughout. Just the 1 card. These teams have gotten after it. And as physical as it's been, as hard-nosed as it's been a strong effort from both sides. Contact. Referee had a look. It's a corner won by Asher Jones. Now we're down to 3 minutes in stoppage time.
What an explosion by Asher Jones. Is it from behind? Does he get the ball? That's a tackle. Grant Bailey. Kiki Wallace says he's the most consistent and dependable player on the roster, and for good reason. Timing everything for Grant Bailey, and to utter perfection at the outside back spot, maxed up against Asher Jones all night long. Sliding over there.
Fourth, can you talk to him?
Perfect tackle.
It's got to come off. No, it's got to come off. Trainer went on the field.
Come on, win this moment!
Ref,
Win
the
this
trainer
moment!
That's a good shout.
Is he not coming off?
The trainer went on, there wasn't a card in theory. Anywho, corner for Tampa Bay United, punched away. The latest work from Berglund. Jones recovers. 2 minutes remaining and slid away into Kinsella. And a throw for Indy 11. A throw worth its weight in gold with no less than 100 seconds to go. Unable to break through. Opens the door here for Tampa Bay United again. Free air.
Keep going!
Offside for Jones. Final minute plus stoppage.
Squeeze him, Berglund!
You want me to get off the sticks and get over by the
Can you imagine? This young man wasn't sure if he was going to travel. His dad had to ask, what are our plans for the first weekend of April? No fooling. It might include bringing a trophy back to Indianapolis.
Yep.
Ready to come, Eddie. Ready. No pressure.
To Jesus upfield. Balza. He's going to drop into the pocket. Hit on the first time. Kept alive by Blake. Jones will chase. Grabbed by Berglund. Burgles the ball away with 15 seconds and stoppage time.
Fourth, how much extra did he signal? How much extra?
Inquiring minds want to know. How much time is there? Is there any remaining? We've gone the second 10-minute period.
Drop, Eddie, drop, Grayson, it's worth it!
Sent forward as quickly as they can. Leon chasing back. He has to send it away. Maybe 30 seconds left. Everybody forward now for Tampa Bay United. Indy 11 got the goal. Elmquist in the 78th. The service up. The header back in front, down, and stayed out. And Indy can taste it now. That is full time. Indy 11 are the USL Academy Cup champions in the under-19 elites.
You got to start to think that the word dynasty can be thrown around. They've almost seen it all and done it all. Whether it's production from their academy talent, guys like Diego Sanchez moving into the first team. They've tasted first place in the Academy League playoffs. They've won the Academy Cup twice now. The bittersweet taste of the runner-up position in 2021, now back-to-back for Indy 11, for Tampa Bay United. You feel for them. They, too, have certainly produced some high-quality performances. But today, on this day, falling just short, Blake Wagner and his crew, to Kiki Wallace and Indy 11, who are in the U19 division, are champions.
They did the daggone thing. Indy 11 at the end of extra time. Take a goal from Grayson Elmquist to knock off Tampa Bay United, the 78th minute. We will show the trophy presentation and the awards here in the Under-19 Elite Division in just a moment, as it finishes in the USL Academy Cup final presented by Puma. The Under-19 Elites, Indy 11 1, Tampa Bay United 0.
Elmquist from Indy 11.
Welcome back to the USL Academy Cup final coverage.
Head on down, grab the award.
The award ceremony begins. Grayson Elmquist is the leading scorer. The under-19 Elite Division. You can see Liam O'Connell taking part from the USL in the award ceremony. Golden Boot, and of course he scores the winner when it matters most. It's Indy 11-1, Tampa Bay United 0 in this final. The award ceremony beginning in Hillsborough.
Requires a bit of an introduction. The club itself not conceding a goal in tournament play. The Golden Glove winner in this year's 2023 USL Academy Cup is Gray Berglund.
Gray Berglund, 4 clean sheets in 4 games. His dad asked, is he going to the tournament? Yes, he is, and he's walking away with all the trophies.
Pretty impressive for Gray Berglund and the journey that he's been on. Not even sure if he was going to make the trip to the #1. No goals conceded, a perfect record for both he and his team in this tournament.
Stone-faced as he receives the Golden Glove trophy. The Golden Boot, the Golden Glove.
The man in charge of the squad that went all the way in the final match of USL 2023 Academy Cup final. Coach of the tournament, Kiki Wallace from Indy 11.
Kiki Wallace with a wide grin. He once did his A license with Blake Wagner. They always seem to run into one another. And he'll receive the trophy as coach of the tournament, leading a charge in which they scored 5, conceded none, and won all 4 games.
We joked with him coming into the final in our conversation that he deserves a raise. And he said, tell that to my bosses, but I'll tell you what, man, I'm not going to have to say anything because your results with your squad certainly speak for themselves. A well-deserved honor.
Kiki Wallace, coach of the tournament. This may well be a clean Indy 11 sweep. The award ceremony continues here.
That had a fantastic 2023 USL Academy Cup. Introducing the 2023 USL Academy Cup runner-ups, Tampa Bay United. Let's give a big hand for Tampa Bay.
The runners-up medals being handed out to Tampa Bay United. You've done such an excellent job of performing at the USL Academy Cup year after year, Dev, and, well, this is going to sting a little bit, and yet it was still, on the whole, an impressive week.
Some of these young men will remain, others already on their way, 1 foot out the door to their colleges, whether it be UNC for Daniel Lugo, Trenton Blake, an opportunity to showcase himself with Bo Shawnee at Dartmouth. Jeffrey White out of the midfield will get an opportunity in the ACC as well with Wake Forest. Great performances, individual or not. And they've certainly tasted their success before. They've been atop the mountain, but right now, the taste of defeat is going to sting a little bit more. Motivation, as I mentioned earlier, to help assist these young men along their way in their developmental process.
Tampa Bay United, 2 wins and 2 losses. They scrape their way through group play and concede only an extra time in the final. Blake Wagner with a team of players, as you mentioned, off to great schools, others already training with the Rowdies like Trenton Blake has. Will accept medals for their efforts over the past 4 days here in the USL Academy Cup. And a picture that will come with immense long-term pride.
Introducing the 2023 USL Academy Cup champions in the U19 Boys Elite Division, Indy 11.
Indy 11 win the U15s, they win the U19s. Indy 11 set to receive their medals now. Defensively, perfection, and that is precisely what was asked by Kiki Wallace coming in. In MLS Next League play, their defensive mentality perhaps had slipped. That is not the case in these 4 days.
No, and what's more impressive to me is the success of the group, although constant over a couple years running. They've done it in a variety of ways. So tactically, they've had to change. They've spread themselves thin and played very open. They've condensed into a low block 4-4-2. They've had a striker that could run away from people. They were absent-minded in the number 9 position and had to recreate it through the aggregate, and yet still through all of that, Kiki Wallace found a way with his group to not only make them successful, but continue to make them grow as well, as both people and players on the pitch. That's the most impressive thing to me. Plenty of talent, absolutely, but to constantly provide change that enables positive growth for the group from within, that's the most impressive thing here.
Chavarria, Sanchez, Vostal, the backup goalkeeper. Which of these young players will be the next Alan Torres, the next Indy 11 player to feature at the mic, to make a run at a USL Championship final? Time will tell, but for this particular juncture, champions, the under-19 elite level, with the trophy still to be hoisted.
And here's the other thing about it. I talked about the different looks that this team has given you. They went real deep into their bench. Every single player, minus their backup goalkeeper in Hayden Vostal, had an opportunity to make an impact on the match today. Some teams passed, not knocking the talent, that just wasn't the case. They wouldn't have been able to rotate and still replicate such an efficient product. And yet, Indy 11, with the depth of their greatness, goals, great saves, individual glory, and now a title for this Academy squad.
And the last to approach is Diego Sanchez. It's said that the Academy contract can be a blessing and a curse. Well, now he's definitely finding the blessing of it. A well-seasoned young player with high expectations for the future. He's taken his place at the center of a photo that'll be hung with pride in the halls of Indy 11. North Carolina Courage on the girls' side, and Indy 11 prepared to hoist on the boys' side. Diego Sanchez does the honors. Indy 11 win the Under-19 Elite 2023 USL Academy Cup Championship. It takes a wonderful team on site to help orchestrate all this. The coaches and players, they've given so much over these last 4 days, over the course of the year, and in their soccer journey for this moment, as well as our broadcast team. For Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, thanks for watching. Indy 11 joins North Carolina Courage, our Under-19 Elite champions in the 2023 USL Academy Cup presented by Puma. Have a good night, everybody.
Individual award. Gonna be heading with Ernie. I think we'll do. Are we doing post-game interviews? At the very least, we're gonna do photos with your awards in the backdrop. Good. All right, head off, guys. When you guys travel, we gotta get a couple guys to do the photos with the individual awards. Grayson, where you at? She at Grayson and Grayson. Where? Congratulations. You're also the golden ball. Yeah.